Okay. What is it? And I need my script at some point. Okay, let me just get my. Okay. I'm calling to order this meeting of the Boston Landmarks Commission Design Review Committee for Tuesday, October 28, 2025, and it is now 5:05 p.m. And present are Commissioners Haney, Orlando, and myself, Baraducci. So you can participate in this hearing by going to the Zoom meeting link posted on our agenda online at zoomgov.com. Is there supposed to be a dot there? But I don't know. I thought there was. /J/1617006938, or by calling 646-828-7666 and entering meeting ID number 161-700-6938. You may also submit written comments to us via email at blc@boston.gov. So in accordance with the Commonwealth of Massachusetts Executive Order suspending certain provisions of the open meeting law, including the March 28, 2025 amendment, extending the suspension of these provisions until June 30, 2027, we're conducting this meeting online to ensure public access to the deliberations of the Boston Landmarks Commission. The public may access this call through telephone and video conferencing. The hearing is being recorded. All conversations between commissioners should be audible to the public in attendance until the hearing has been adjourned. And at this point, we ask if there are any media or elected officials on the call to please identify yourself by stating your name, title, and affiliation, and by way of raising your hand in the Zoom meeting platform. All right, nobody coming through with that. Oh, okay. All right, so looks like we have no one coming forward on that. So if we can bring up the first application. All right, so tonight we just have one design review application, and then there are a series of administrative reviews that I will read into the record after that, and then we will vote on the acceptance of those with the full commission. So the first application here is application number 26.0153, and it's the Commonwealth Avenue signage application, excuse me. And it's regarding the commemorative signage on the Arlington Street fence at the mall. So the applicant can introduce yourselves and get started. And this is a continuance from last month. Okay, Lisa has her hand up.
Yep, Liza.
Okay.
There you go.
Okay, great. Thank you. And can I screen share? Because I have some images that I think might be helpful. I know you have the packet that we prepared, but if you're comfortable with me doing that.
Yep, just give me one moment.
Sure. All right. Sure. Miss everybody seeing this?
Allison.
Yep,
With us.
we can see it.
Press. So.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay, great. Thank you. So nice to see everyone again. I'm Liza Meyer. I'm the president of the Friends of the Public Garden, and thanks for having me back after last month, the September hearing, where we reviewed this initial proposal. So just to quickly recap where we were and what we heard, because I think that informs where we've gone over these last few weeks. When we came in September, we showed a a proposal for a bronze plaque to be mounted to the fence on the outside of the Arlington block of Commonwealth Avenue Mall. This plaque is an acknowledgement plaque for the support of the holiday lighting along the mall, which is this year in its 25th year. So it's acknowledging the donors who initiated the project, which has always been a project that is done through private philanthropy, not through any support from the city, monetary support from the city. The city is very supportive of seeing the lights on the mall, but they're not, it's not supported through operating dollars. So this is what we came with. And the reason we had shown this is because there are a couple of locations along the mall where some plaques of this nature exist. This one is another plaque acknowledging a donation, supporting the mall itself. The first one was a plaque associated with a feature on the mall. And the feedback that we heard last month was that the location of the plaque on the fence reads like signage, and signage is not recommended under the guidelines for this landmark. That the no bicycling signage at the park entrance detracts from the experience of the entry, and that adding of the plaque then contributes to a sense of visual clutter. Those no bicycling signs are in all of the entrances. That wasn't special to this entrance, but it exists throughout the park. Then the commissioners requested that we look at locating the plaque inside the fence line on a modest base. And then some other ideas were discussed, like temporary seasonal signage or a strategy that involves lighting. I'll touch on the last two ideas first because we have given these some thought, but they are not aligned with the approach we're taking at this time. I think lighting is something that we very much are interested in exploring along the mall and in support of some winter activation as well on the Common, because the Friends of Public Garden are involved with Commonwealth Avenue Mall, the Public Garden, and the Boston Common. I think this is work that we could see in our future, and I have connected with somebody who could be a great resource for us to explore this down the road, but I see that as a long-term effort that is separate from what we're here talking about tonight, and it'll be exciting to explore that on a different timeline and really with a different goal in mind. And the temporary seasonal signage is always something that we could do, but we don't think it really gets at the goal of this project again, which is about acknowledgement over a long period of time, not temporary acknowledgement, which might be something that we would do for if we had a sponsor, for instance, but that's not what we're here tonight to discuss. But I do have several images that more directly relate to the recommendations that were proposed last time. So this is one that I'm including just because I think it helps with this idea of the visual clutter at this entrance. We removed, this is just Photoshop, but we removed the no bicycling signage and moved the main park signage over and are showing the plaque as proposed so that people could see. I agree with you that what we showed last time does look like there's a lot going on that end, and it was just helpful to see it cleaned up with those white no bicycling signs removed. This isn't the only thing we're showing, but I just wanted everyone to see it because I think it's an effective improvement. Then the recommendation that we look at adding the plaque to inside the fence line to a modest base. This shows that approach sort of close to the first tree. I think it's certainly doable. It can be executed, but what it does is introduces a new element in the park, which is less desirable. And really what we're trying to do with this project is introduce just the plaque itself, not add a new element in the landscape. The park landscape, as we all know, is very simple. So letting the landscape be as it is a preferred direction, but we wanted to show this because this was one of the suggestions. This wasn't discussed at our meeting last month, but I think it's worth considering. There is, there is a granite post already there on site that is the termination of the fence on both sides of this entrance. So instead of adding a new piece of granite into the landscape, we have looked at two options for where a plaque could go on that existing granite post or pier. This one is obviously on the face as you cross the threshold into the park. And then there's this one on the face that is on the interior of the park. I'm interested to hear, if you have reactions to these two locations. I think this location seemed to be more appropriate because it is inside the park. It faces inside the park. It's a little bit more protected, I suppose, from people kind of brushing past it for what that's worth. And this shows it. I'm going to zoom out, I think, next, so you can see how it would look. Oh, I'm zooming in first. So this is the view of it on the post. In order for the post to accommodate a plaque, right now the post has this rough finish, except for a honed edge that frames out each side of the post. So that rock face would need to be smoothed with hand tools, and then a space created to accommodate the plaque on the post itself. We have a contractor stoneworker who we've worked with on many projects along Commonwealth Avenue Mall, who is aware of this project and is confident that we could do this with a really clean installation. And that is the direction. If we go in this direction, that's how we would proceed. And then it would be, you would have anchors on the back of the plaque, and that they would, go into, they'd be drilled in, and the whole thing would be epoxied into place so it doesn't pop off. I think it's really what's most important with bronze plaques is to make sure they can't be peeled off or wrenched off. So that's why we would want to set this flush onto the face of the granite rather than having it pull off and float over the post. And I just have a couple more images. So here we're zoomed all the way out, moving towards the public garden. And then here's an image of a plaque from another park. This is in the South End, but it shows, I think it's helpful just to see the bronze finish. It's hard to Photoshop that and get the right color palette, but this is a bronze plaque on a stone pier in a Boston Park setting that we would be emulating this kind of finish again, unless there was a recommendation to approach it in a different way in terms of finish. And then this again is the plaque itself with the proposed language. And I think that's the last image. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. So you've got the in terms of the mounting of the plaque on the pillar, you're looking at two possibilities, one on the adjacent to the path and the other one on the inside of the park side or the mall side of the pillar.
I think either of those could work.
I think either one works kind of as well. I think, it depends on where people enter the mall to look. And so I guess I would defer to the other commissioners on if they had a particular, but I definitely like it on the pillar. I think that's the way to do it. I think you come close, the person comes closest to it as they walk by. They'll tend to read it more versus having it further down on the sign, on the fence rather. Yeah, so I think, and versus the tablet, in other words, if you put a separate granite pillar, then that's another thing to mow around it and all that stuff, and disrupting the roots and such when you put it in the ground. So this is definitely a good, and I like the idea of if you hone back on the rough cut part of the granite and sort of center it there so that I think if the edges of the signs align with the edges of where the thermal and then the rock face granite is, that would be a nice placement for it. So that's my take. Justine or Jeff, if you have thoughts on it.
Sure. My understanding, I think, is that granite post isn't part of the historic fence.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that makes a lot of sense. It also doesn't set a precedent for potential other additional signage for future. This is a very much so should be looked at as a one-off. And there's only so many faces of that post that could potentially get signage. So I think it keeps us from kind of snowballing for future. So I think that makes a lot of sense.
Okay, thanks. Jeff, you have any comments?
Yep, I think the mounting it on the granite post is a good idea. Either face I think works for me. I wonder if I'm a little bit worried about grinding off the rough stone finish though. As the sign comes off, then we have sort of this blank scar that's left for the future to deal with. I'm still I'm not too worried about it having a projecting off of the rough stone. Do we really think it's a vandalizing target?
Mm.
I don't know if I should respond to that, or if David, you would want to respond to that.
Well, I mean, I think it makes it certainly easier to get a pry bar behind it if it's just mounted on top of the sort of rough cut stone. There'll be more space to, you'll have to use a series of spacers to make sure that the sign is plumb and such. I don't know. I guess I didn't think about it if, how temporary the lights might be in the future and if it was ever removed. I guess there is a possibility that you're going to be left with this sort of blank spot that a sign used to be, so I guess I don't feel but at the same time, I do like the fact that it would look nicer if it was set into flush with the granite, the thermal finish part of the granite. It would look more like it was fit there.
Could the is the actual dimensions of the sign, they seem a little bit large. I wonder if it can be tightened up. And I think my last comment is the bronze. Is it a real true bronze?
It would be a true bronze, yes.
So that has a big potential theft attractiveness to it.
Yeah.
I do like the palette that the Commonwealth Avenue sign has, which is sort of this matte black with white lettering. Is that a possible option for that sort of graphic to match that sign versus introducing a bronze medallion?
I think that there's the signage along Comm Ave. I think this would be unique from the signage because it's not a sign, it's a plaque, but it could be, I think it could be black, but with bronze lettering. I think that there's an option in the finishes of the bronze plaque normally you see it with the like deep brown finish. But I think it's possible to do it in black. I think if we just did it as a black sign with white lettering, it would not read, it would read as a plaque, and I wouldn't install it on a granite post anymore. I think we'd be back, that would be a sign. And I know there's a question of like, what's a sign, what's a plaque? But I think that a plaque is something that is has more presence and weight and heft and feels like is more of a park feature than a sign, which feels more temporary and you would choose standard signage material for a sign, but not something that's intended for a longer term purpose.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, I think I think this is also sort of a memorial sign too. It's acknowledging the people that donated the funds, and I assume they're deceased. I don't know, maybe they're not, but so it is that of sorts, and the bronze kind of highlights the sort of uniqueness of that message. I guess in terms of the theft, all I would say is, if it gets stolen, can we get your guarantee that you'll replace it, with something? And then if it has to be something that's less expensive, so it's less tempting, then that's maybe when you think of that. But it's basically the Parks Department, that's who's doing this, so it would be you know, out of their budget, I guess. But
Well, it's the Friends of the Public
well, the
Garden.
Friends rather. I'm sorry. Yes, of course. Yeah, yeah, yeah. So all right, and I guess I would say, so it sounds like we're approving it and we're not necessarily specifying either side. So I guess we can leave that up to staff to make that final decision, as well as if you can, you know, show staff the what do you call it, the means of it, of mounting it, the mounting detail that you end up coming up with, I think would be good. And then also the final sizes of it, of the sign. I do think it should line up with the frame that's around the current thing, at least in the width and the height. I don't know. That could be whatever seems to make sense. So does that sound all right to the other commissioners?
Yep,
Okay.
sounds good.
So we can then make that recommendation for the full commission.
Joe, you have your hand up.
Yeah, David, I just want to say the staff recommendation was to install it on the inward or the west side of the post.
So that would be, when you say west, that's the side parallel to the path or 90 degrees to that?
90 degrees.
Oh, all right. So the
So
second,
when you're leaving
Okay.
the public garden, you'll see it on the back side of the post.
all right. I mean, I think that certainly would be fine. The reason I thought about the other side was if you enter from the Arlington Street side, you at least walk by, your eye might catch it and you tend to read it, but it's fine if it's on the back side too, because not everybody walks through from Arlington. They'll come the other way too. So, all right. So if that's the preference of the staff, I guess that would make sense. I would lean towards that. So, all right, I think it's a great idea, by the way, because we didn't think of that. And I know there was talk about maybe putting it on the threshold and etching it into the granite and all that. And this is so much better. You know, so I'm glad.
Thank you. Well, thank you very much. Appreciate your comments. And yes, we'll work with staff to confirm the items that you identified, the dimensions and the final mounting detail.
Okay, perfect.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right. So that was it. Now, if you want me to read in these admins, I can do that, and then wait for the full commission to vote on that.
David, I'm sorry, we forgot public comment.
Oh, you're right. All right, so let's throw that up, the script up quickly, and then I'll read that off. Thank you for that constant reminder.
On the nag.
All right, let's see. Okay, so members of the public will now have an opportunity to ask questions and provide public comment on the proposed application, the design. Comments will be timed to 2 minutes per person, and we ask that you not repeat the previous comments. So to offer a comment, please raise your hand via the Zoom meeting platform. If you're calling in and cannot use the platform, you can press *9 to raise your hand, or you can send your questions to staff via email at blc@boston.gov. And I think that's it. No comments. Okay.
No comments.
No emails, I'm sure, either at this point. So, all right, great. So we'll close the public comment period, and then we'll make that recommendation to approve with those provisos that the staff review the final placement and such and detailing. All right, so these, could you make that just, wait a minute, you know what? I can do it. There we go. I just needed it a little bigger. This is perfect. All right, so we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 administrative or applications to read in. These were applications that came before the Landmark staff, and the staff had approved them based on their adherence to the standards and criteria. So I'll read them in now, and then our vote with the full commission will be to move to accept the staff's approval of these applications. So the first is application 26.0339, and this is Bay State Road, and it's at 174 Bay State Road, and it's regarding at front facade repair existing fire escape. The next is 26.0319. And this is at 1 Franklin Park Road, and it's it's at the Franklin Park Zoo, and it's erecting a 100-foot long greenhouse structure. Next, 26.0322. This is Quincy Market, 206 South Market Street, and it's at the portico. Install 10 double-sided banners using a new cable system. Next, 26.0360 South Market Building, 100 to 199 Faneuil Hall Marketplace, and the work is at the front facade. Install a wall sign. Next, 26.0275. This is 20 North Street. And it's at the front facade, replace existing wall sign and blade sign. And the last is 26.0103. So this is St. Botolph Street. And it's at 110 St. Botolph Street. And it's regarding replace 26 existing windows with 1/1 black vinyl windows. Okay, so we've read those in, and then when we will ask for a vote with the full commission. So that's it. So are we gonna just go right into it, or are we gonna wait till 6?
We will wait until
We'll wait.
6.
Okay.
We'll take a little break.
All right.
Mhm.
See you then.
Thanks, David.
Yep.
Okay, Justine,
Ready to go?
you're ready to go.
All right. Good evening, folks. I'm stepping in here for Chair Walker for tonight. All right. I am calling to order a meeting of the Boston Landmarks Commission on October 28th, 2025 at 6 p.m. Present are Commissioners Jacques Freeman, Verducci, Hoffman, Gagno, Amadeo, Ward Hyatt, Haney, and myself, Orlando. Any other commissioners I may have missed? Okay. In addition, we have staff, Chelsea Blanchard, Joe Cornish, Jennifer Gogler, Kathy Correllis, Elizabeth Sherba. You can participate in this hearing by going to the Zoom meeting link posted in our agenda online at www.zoom.com/J/1617006938 or by calling 1-646-828-7666 and entering meeting ID number 161-700-6938. You may also submit written comments to us via email at blc@boston.gov. In accordance with the Commonwealth of Massachusetts Executive Order suspending certain provisions of the open meeting law, including the March 28th, 2025 amendment extending the suspension of these provisions until June 30th, 2027, we are conducting this meeting online to ensure public access to the deliberations of the Boston Landmarks Commission. The public may access this call through telephone and video conferencing. This hearing is being recorded. All conversations between commissioners should be audible to the public in attendance until the hearing has been adjourned. If there are any media or elected officials present, I would ask that you identify yourself now by stating your name, title, and affiliation. You can also do that by raising your hand in the Zoom app. Allison, are you with us tonight, representing?
Yes, hi, thank you. Good evening. Allison Pulteness with the Fenway News. Thank you.
Great. I don't see any others. Great. All right. We are going to then move on to reading in our quick agenda here for tonight. I'm going to start out with ratification of the meeting minutes from October 14th. We will recap and vote on the earlier design review hearing. We had one application and administrative approval items to vote on. Then we'll move on to a survey rating upgrade for 25 Park Street. And we'll wrap up with staff and commissioner comments. All right, so we'll move on to ratification of the meeting minutes. The meeting minutes for October 14th were distributed to the commission prior to this meeting. Opening up the floor for any commissioner comments or corrections to the meeting minutes that were posted. All right, hearing no comments there. With no corrections to the meeting minutes, I will now entertain a motion to approve the BLC October 14th, 2025 meeting minutes as submitted.
I'll make the motion, David.
Thank you. And a second?
I'll second. Jeffrey Haney.
Great. Okay, and voting will be Commissioners Hoffman, Gagno, Amadeo, and Ward Hyatt. Jacques?
Yes.
Freeman?
Yes.
Baraducci?
Yes.
Hoffman?
Yes.
Gagno?
Yes.
Amadeo?
Yes.
Ward Hyatt?
Yes.
Haney?
Yes.
Excuse me. Sorry, Jeff. I
Oh, okay.
got a little excited there. Okay. Great. So those will be accepted. We're going to move on to a review and vote from our design hearing earlier today. So
Yeah.
David, if you want to give us a quick update.
Yes, thank you. Okay, that screen just disappeared, but I was going to read the application in. But this was the it was a continuance with the Friends of the Public Garden. They came back to us tonight with a revision of the last month's presentation, and it's based on a sign that would commemorate the donors and just acknowledge the holiday lighting that occurs along the mall, and this was going to be at the Arlington Street entrance. The original application had the sign right on the fence as you walk up to the mall, and the guidelines are pretty specific on signage and the minimization of that. And so the compromise was the granite pillars that are part of the fence that comes along the side of Arlington Street. The left-hand column, they would mount the plaque, which is going to be a bronze plaque that would fit obviously in the width of the column. They would put it on the side of the column that faces the mall itself. So it would be perpendicular, I guess you would say, to the mall. And we would leave it up to staff to review the actual mounting details and the specific final sizing of the bronze sign. And also too, this was yes, there it is, that column there would be on the opposite face that you're seeing there, facing the mall. And yes, that's the side right there. And they also had removed, at our request, there were was a no bicycling sign or something on the fence itself. And so they did remove that as well to help minimize the amount of signage on the sign. So this would be a great spot for it. It announces the lighting, the donors, and gives people a chance to understand the display at the holidays. So the motion would be to accept as presented, with the proviso that staff review the final details.
Excuse
Did
me.
we get a second on that? Oh, sorry, go ahead.
I'm sorry, I can't find the hand raise symbol on my app, but I just wanted to ask a question, David and Justine. Was there any discussion about how this plaque was going to sit on the granite where the granite face is rusticated, split face?
Yeah.
So
Yes.
how did you resolve that?
They did actually, I should have said that they did address that specifically. And what they're going to do is they're going to have to machine down the split face portion of where the sign will go. So it will be essentially at the same plane as the thermal finish boundaries. So
Okay.
it's set flush now rather than sitting on top.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Yeah.
Great. Could we, I don't know, John, would you be willing to make a second on that?
I would, yes. Thank you,
Great.
Justine.
Okay. And commissioners voting will be Gagno, Amadeo, Ward Hyatt, and Haney. Schock,
Yes.
Freeman,
Yes.
Baraducci,
Yes.
Gagno,
Yes.
Amadeo,
Yes.
Ward Hyatt,
Yes.
and Haney.
Yes.
And I vote yes. Great. So that will pass, and then we'll just move on to the administrative
Yep.
approval vote. You had read those into the record during design review.
Yes, I had read them in during design review. The commissioners would have been able to see them ahead of time because it was on the agenda that they had all received. So the motion, yeah, there they are. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 admins. And so the motion would be to accept the staff's approval of these applications. And if we can have a second.
Second.
I'll second that. Jeff Gagno.
Okay. Thank you. All right, and commissioners voting will be Hoffman, Amadeo, Ward Hyatt, and Haney. Schock,
Yes.
Freeman,
Yes.
Baraducci,
Yes.
Hoffman,
Yes.
Amadeo,
Yes.
Ward Hyatt,
Yes.
Haney,
Yes.
and I vote yes. All right, great. That will close out from design review.
And Justine, I just want to mention that Commissioner Barrios Milner has just joined us.
Oh, great. Thank you. Okay. All right, so we're going to move on to our survey rating upgrade review. The Boston Landmarks Commission has received a written request to review the survey rating for the property at 25 Park Street in Dorchester. According to Boston Landmarks Commission policy, staff of the commission have evaluated the architectural and historical significance of the property based on the submission of documentary and field evidence and a comparison of buildings of comparable age, type, and style from the commission's survey data. Staff then produced an inventory continuation sheet and provided it to the commission for their review in advance of this hearing. The inventory continuation sheet conveys the staff's recommendation for the new survey rating. The commission can vote to accept or change the staff recommendation. The change of a building's rating does not constitute designation as a Boston landmark or listing on the National Register of Historic Places. I'll now ask for, I believe, Jennifer to read their recommendation into the record.
Thank you, Justine. I'll just begin by reminding everyone of the purpose of the survey rating policy. It establishes guidelines for how the Boston Landmarks Commission and staff use survey ratings to determine whether a property is eligible for a petition to designate as a Boston landmark. So, as you may all recall, the BLC can vote to accept petitions for further study for potential designation only for properties whose inventory forms indicate national, state, or local significance. Next slide, please. So tonight we will be recommending a rating of state significance for the property under discussion. State significance was the request that we received from the constituent who submitted and we agree with that rating. So just to review what that is before I speak about the property. So state significance is considered to have highest significance to the city of Boston and the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. And it could be for one of the following reasons: as an outstanding example of style or type, as an early or rare example of the work of notable architects or other professionals who may have worked in a statewide context. Also, when they represent an aspect of the history of the Commonwealth as a whole, and the historic associations or information potential appears to extend beyond a local area. Next slide, please. So we'll be looking tonight at the Joseph Camp Lindsley and Abigail Foster Lindsley House, hereafter just referred to as the Lindsley House, or 25 to 27 Park Street. It's a substantial 2.5-story Italianate residence located on a large lot at 25 to 27 Park Street in Dorchester. Next slide. Built in 1856, the house is a contributing property to the Harrison Square Historic District, which is what you see here highlighted in yellow. This district was listed in the National Register of Historic Places in 2002. This district is sometimes known as Harrison Square, but it's also known commonly as Clam Point. And it's notable for its collection of grand Italianate mansard and Greek Revival houses. And this will relate to the story of the house, as you'll see, but this area was occupied largely by a group of progressive Unitarians, and it became a nexus of the abolitionist movement in Boston. Next slide. So the house, as you see here, at 25 to 27 Park, was designed by Luther Briggs, a prominent architect of the latter half of the 19th century. He began his career working under two significant architects, Alexander Paris, who designed Quincy Market and many other buildings, and Gridley J.F. Bryant, who designed Old City Hall and many other buildings. And then Luther Briggs went on to open his own office, and he designed numerous public buildings and residences in the region as well. So as you might be able to tell from the photo on the left, the Lindsley House has been heavily altered. It does retain the massing, symmetry, deep eaves, and the cupola of its original Italianate style. Unfortunately, original windows, siding, brackets, and other ornamental features have been removed. And as you can see in the photo on the right, this is a photo looking at the side of the house. And you can see that there was once a deep side porch, which has subsequently been enclosed. Next slide. So following the passage of the Fugitive Slave Act in 1850, several families in Harrison Square offered their homes as stations on the Underground Railroad. The Lindsley House, however, is the only surviving station that is identified in the National Register form for the district. And it is documented as a surviving station of the Underground Railroad in at least 3 sources. So I'll briefly summarize those. As you can see here in the slide on the left, there are several obituaries published in 1895 upon the death of Joseph C. Lindsley that describe his house as one of the chief or main stations on the Underground Railroad. So I've included 2 examples here. Also, as you can see on the right, William Lloyd Garrison Jr. Said of Joseph Lindsley at his funeral that to him, the fugitive slave never appealed in vain. His purse and his roof were ever ready to aid and shelter such unfortunates fleeing the vulture of American slavery. There was a historian of the First Parish Church in Dorchester who compiled a history of the church and wrote about Lindsley as well, that his house was a ready refuge for the fugitive slave. And then lastly, within her compiled history, she included a statement from the Lindsley's daughter, Anne Fraser, who actually recalled taking food to a fugitive hidden in a long dark closet in the attic. Next slide, please. So we looked at how many Underground Railroad stations have been identified in the state of Massachusetts. So it's an ongoing project, but in 1998, Congress passed the National Underground Railroad Network to Freedom Act, and that created this Network to Freedom program to honor, preserve, and promote the history of the Underground Railroad. And so this program documents sites that have a verifiable connection to the Underground Railroad. And what you see here are the sites that are listed in this program in the state of Massachusetts. I was kind of surprised to see that there are only 17 sites currently listed across the state as of October 2025. The Lindsley House is not yet listed in this network, but it is likely eligible for inclusion and may be submitted in the near future by local advocates. And then I would also like to, oh, sorry. Yeah, I would also just like to say that out of these 17 sites that are listed in this register, only one is in the city of Boston. That is the Lewis and Harriet Hayden House at 66 Phillips Street in Beacon Hill. There's also 2 sites in Cambridge, 2 in Brookline, and 1 in Newton. Outside of this program, several additional homes in Boston are believed or known to have been Underground Railroad stations, but they're concentrated in the Beacon Hill area, which was home to a tightly knit free Black community. To our knowledge, there are currently no other existing Underground Railroad stations identified in Dorchester besides the Lindsley House. And so we believe that this house adds a significant additional node to the story of the Underground Railroad in Boston, as well as in the state of Massachusetts. And for these reasons, we are recommending a survey rating of state significance. Thank you.
Great, thanks so much, Jen. At this time, I now invite commissioners to ask questions and or comment on the proposed survey rating.
Hi, this is John Freeman. Just a simple question. Why state and not national significance?
That's a great question, John. So we honestly, among staff, we had the same thought, should this even be higher than state? I think that it could be, and that is an option in the future. We can always, so right now, sorry, I should back up and say this isn't actually a survey rating upgrade. This is a new survey rating. This property does not currently have an individual inventory form, so it doesn't have a survey rating currently. So this is the first time we're assigning one, but it could be upgraded in the future based on further evidence, further documentation. If this house was actually listed individually in the National Register, that would be another good reason to do it. So I think, Liz, if you could go back to the map that shows the NR district. I think, when we talked about, we were just saying, okay, it's not individually listed on the National Register, and further research could uncover more significance or more about this story. So there's room to go up to national, but we sort of agreed with the request that it was placed at state. However, you as commissioners can certainly suggest that you think it should be higher, and you could make that motion tonight.
It makes sense to me that you start at the state level for all the reasons you said, and especially that it's the first time it's been rated, because it gives the opportunity to do more research. So thank you for answering the question. I think you made the right decision.
Thank you.
Any other commissioner comments? Great. Okay, I will now entertain a motion to accept or change the survey rating recommended by staff for this property.
This is John Freeman, so moved.
Great, thank you, John.
I'll second that, Jeffrey Haney.
Actually, I think Felicia beat you to the punch there.
Okay.
And voting commissioners will be Barrios Milner, Hoffman, Ward Hyatt, and Haney. Schock?
Yes.
Freeman?
Yes.
Baraducci?
Yes.
Barrios Milner?
Yes.
Hoffman?
Yes.
Gagno?
Yes, sorry about that.
Nope, that was my mistake. Actually, I think I got you by mistake on that one. Ward Hyatt?
Yes.
Okay. And I vote yes. Great. Okay, I will now ask a member of BLC staff to review the next steps.
The 6 original survey review participants are all notified of rating changes accepted by vote of the Boston Landmarks Commission. Those organizations are the Boston Preservation Alliance, the Society of Architectural Historians, the Massachusetts Historical Commission, the Chamber of Commerce, the Greater Boston Real Estate Board, and the Boston Planning Department. Each of these parties may formally object in writing to the BLC within 45 days of the date of this notification. The BOC will consider objections, but will not be obliged to reverse its decision. Thank you.
Awesome. Thanks, Jen. And this will conclude this agenda item. We'll now move on to staff updates, recognizing Elizabeth Sherva, the Office of the Historic Preservation at this point.
Thanks, Justine. The next Bus and Landmarks Commission hearing will be on Wednesday, November 12th. So Tuesday is November 11th, Veterans Day, which I believe most of us will be observing, and our offices will not be open. And so we have moved that meeting to Wednesday, November 12th at 6 p.m. And if there's any other questions about that, you can let me know. Of course, I'd love to know if you can attend. So go ahead and submit your RSVP in our RSVP tracker. And that is all I have for this evening, Commissioner Orlando.
All right, excellent. Any comments from other commissioners? Thoughts, questions? All right. Then with that, I'll take a motion for adjournment.
So moved.
And I'll second.
Awesome. Thank you both. And all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. Thanks all.
Thank you.
Thank you. Good
Aye,
night,
everybody.
everyone.